Three, two, one. And now we're on the record. So really, really happy to have both Rob and Jayne Young with us today. I had the chance to meet both of them at the CWC event out in Las Vegas in, I think, beginning of October. And what really caught my eye is, I know, Jayne, we've done hiring with you in the past and had a lot of fun helping hire in your agency. And then you introduced your husband, and it was like, wait a minute, he's not an agency owner. What's he do? And it was this company, Phone Home Leads. And oh, well, we actually have a way of connecting agencies with homeowners. And I was like, tell me more. And we started to learn more about what you guys actually do. And since that meeting in October, I've spoken with no less than 24 agents who have used you guys and been thrilled with the result it's gotten them. And I think what's very unique is just the origin story of how the company was created, which I'm hoping, I'm not going to steal your thunder on that. I'd love for you to explain sort of how you even came up with the concept. And then really the invitation that went out today for everyone here was to explain to them sort of how the process works, and what this overall concept is. Because for all of you who have not encountered Phone Home Leads, this is not, let me go out and purchase a lead online of somebody who filled out a lead form and call them alongside 10 other agencies and hope we're the first one to get them to pick up and that we have a good enough follow-up game to close them. This is sort of coming in the back door and using a very different approach to build new business and build your home business, which I know is what most agencies want anyway. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce both Jayne Young, Rob Young. And just to clarify, although Rob has a big hand in the back end of Jayne's agency, we have two separate organizations. She's like, no.
It's all me. It's all me.
It's all Jayne. My bad. We didn't practice before this. So,
no.
But two separate organizations, right? And I know you two have spoken together before. So anything you have planned to kind of talk about the relationship between the agency, Phone Home Leads, et cetera, would be greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let me pass it off to these two. And I don't know who wants to go first. There's an order we want to go here. Jayne?
I'll let Rob kick it off. Rob will kick
Rob's
it off.
Gonna kick it off?
Yeah. Gotcha. So it's all right. So I started Phone Home Leads for Jayne. At the end of the day, she opened up Scratch 5 years ago, and we were talking to a lot of lead vendors. I heard her talking to a lot of lead vendors, and I was just working remote out of her office, and they were talking about $80, $100, $120 leads. And I look over at her, I'm like, I'm sorry, how much? And so we started working the problem. So what she told me, what we knew we wanted was, we knew we wanted homes. We knew we wanted accurate cell phone numbers, and we knew we didn't want to waste our sub producers' time on calling a bunch of disconnected numbers. We knew those things. So I put together a package. And the software, what we do is we deliver homeowner leads, homeowner X dates effectively, to insurance agents about the same time that the customers are receiving their renewal paperwork. And so we've definitely seen it grow, and Jayne's built her agency on this. So at the end of the day, I built this for her.
Well, and it's been really fun. And those of you that are married, you can kind of watch your spouse have a baby. And so Rob has kind of turned this into like, hey, wouldn't it be cool? Or like, hey, I don't want to spend $10,000 a month on leads, let alone, because I know my team is going to call him one time and say, not going to call him again. I'm like, do you know what I paid for that? And then let alone having to cycle through like every quarter trying to find a new leads vendor, because it seems like the quality would go down, and then arguing with them on, are we going to get a refund, or this was a bad number, or they hung up when we connected, but I want my $85 back, all of that. So when Rob was able to solve the problem for my agency, I was like, this is so good. You have to give this to other agents, because let's be real, a lot of the leads vendors that are out there, they're not a small business. They don't really, at least I felt like they weren't invested in me getting better. They wanted more money, but there wasn't a solution to really my problem. And so when Rob did this, I said, okay, you got to have bulk leads. Why do you have bulk leads? Well, because I want my team calling through every day. I don't want to trickle them 2 or 3 people a day and then watch them do this or on their phone all day. That's not effective. So I want to go because I'm a pusher. And so I push my team. So they're bulk. They are cell phone leads, which is really nice. And these are very different, like what you mentioned, Andy. So you need a lot of, you need to be a human with these. So if you've got teams that are maybe super transactional and they're just like, yep, where do you live? What's your birthday? Okay, let's get you a quote. This isn't for you. This is for the people that, like, I'm in a small town And these also work really, really well in a large town. It's just, if you've got a team that love to engage, this is going to be right up their alley, because you're getting to the decision maker, you're catching them off guard. Your retention is going to go up because they're stickier. They're not shoppers. They're not going to call you about a $15 a month increase. They're just not. And it's just overall helped me have a very, very strong, healthy book. So naturally, if I have success, I'm going to tell everybody I know, hey, try this out, because this is how we want to build our books. We want them healthy and bundled, and that makes us happy.
So if I could interject, I'm going to be the bad kid in the class today, just causing all sorts of problems. So let's say I'm a homeowner, right? And you get my cell phone number and somebody on your team calls me.
Yeah.
What does that phone call sound like?
Oh yeah. Do you want me to do the role play with you now?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll do the full script. Okay. And just answer how you would. All right. You ready? Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Andy.
Oh, hi, Andy. This is Jayne Young with Allstate and Nixa. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I was giving you a call today because I saw your home may be up for renewal soon and you don't have Allstate. So I was curious who you have for auto and home insurance.
I think we just took Travelers that I think Pulte set us up with when we took the home. So we didn't really think about it, you know?
Yeah, okay, so you have Travelers. You know, you're actually the third person I've talked to that had them, and I switched to this morning. So are you still at this address, 123 Main Street?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, now Andy, this is the big question. This will help you decide if I'm your best friend or not. Are you ready to answer it?
I'm ready.
Okay, when was your roof last replaced? That's one of the biggest discounts we can offer through Allstate.
3 years ago.
Oh my gosh, Andy, we're going to be best friends already. I just know it. Okay, so you're absolutely going to qualify for the biggest discount we have. Now let's go ahead and get started. Who else is in your household? And that's how we go. So tone is important. Engaging and connecting is important. A lot of agents talk about rapport. I just replace that with connection. Finding a connection with them.
I love that.
So that's how it goes.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So we found people, this really works for people, especially playing the local front, right? So being local in that area, if people can hear, the fact that, hey, I go to the same grocery store as you do, that's certainly, there's some appeal there. And it's not just mass calling and building up that relationship. So one of the things I want to talk about first is, oh my gosh. So if we talk about why do people hate leads, right? So Jayne, can you speak to that?
All day. Okay, so one of my big complaints as an agent, they're expensive and the ROI just isn't there, but like, what else are you going to do? Right? That's my big friction point. Also, I mentioned not enough leads in the day, a lot of disconnected numbers. So then what happens is then you have to use other companies that are going to like rapid dial for you, which then you come into all kinds of federal compliance issues with that, which isn't nice. And then you've got to rush to call. So even if you go up to use the restroom and you get one of those emails like, okay, they want a call, then if you're not right there immediately, which is a pretty stressful situation, honestly, then you've pretty much already lost it. Price, I talked about that, lack of exclusivity. So we buried the lead on that, Rob. These are exclusive. So that's nice. I don't have to fight over anybody. Well, I sleep next to you, so you would never resell my leads, but just by nature, you don't resell your leads. So if you sign up for a zip code, what do you need? 5 or 6 or 7, depending on your area, then no one else can have them. And that's not just within the company, that's anyone else can have them. And then it also really helps retention numbers because these people generally are the doctors, they're the attorneys, they're the maybe the teachers that feel really loyal. They're the people that don't really want to switch. And that's what we want. We don't want to churn and burn and everything we write leaves out the back door. And then refunds. Oh my gosh, fighting with people about refunds. Over it. And you don't have to work with that or deal with that with Phone Home.
So, and I think to pair it even with team hired too, I think it's good to note that as you get those exclusive leads, those bulk leads, and you're also hiring in your staff, a lot of times people don't know, like, what can I give my staff to work on, right? So as you get those new hires, we found a very, frankly, great synergy here with this. And so with Phone Home leads, so that covers why people hate them, but with Phone Home leads, it's important to note that I run everything through the national and state do not call list that's relevant in your area. And then I also validate that the person has made a phone call in the past 30 days. So one of the things that we found when we were working leads originally was that if you, there were common denominators and people that didn't answer phones. And so we want to proactively eliminate that so that now when you're calling, you're actually calling the person. They may not answer, but you're still doing work, and that your phone number is now showing up on their phone. And eventually they're going to look at it and say, I wonder why this number's calling me. And then we get to the quote. So Jayne, I believe we covered most of these things here on how phone home leads are different, but is there anything else you would like to elaborate on?
Yeah, I think as an agent, we are so used to leaving voicemails on leads, and that can be stressful for our team. I think, like, I've been doing this for 13 years. I've been using phone home leads for 5. So it doesn't bother me anymore, but a lot of our team members can get really stressed out and be like, oh, I don't know what to say in a voicemail. And we can wrap up a lot in the scripts of the voicemails. So let's just not do that. We found in the first 6 months to the first year of phone home leads being born that when I'd say, hey, this is Jayne Young with Allstate, I had a question about your homeowner's insurance, give me a call back, my number got blocked. And so that was not effective. So as we know, I'm a huge nerd when it comes to sales and understanding the psychology of it all. And I really like using persuasive sales techniques. If I can convince you that you need it, then you're going to convince yourself. And then my job is so much easier. So let's use that to our advantage as agents and work smarter. So people are curious people. That's why we can't delete Facebook. We have FOMO, right? A little bit. So let people be curious. Let that same number call through and call through and call through. And generally, we have 5 years of data showing days 7 through 9, sometimes 11, depending on the month. That's when people are finally like, all right, what? Hello? Hi, who is this? And then you can get right in, and you've got to have a very effective, precise elevator pitch.
And so we cover that. We do provide a script that gets you through that first 30 seconds. And we'll talk about that a little bit more like we did with Andy earlier. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And then it's also
David had a question. David Ginsburg. Oh. Who did prospect call if call compliant? I'm not sure I understand that question.
Who did prospect call if I call compliant? David, do you mind rephrasing that for us? If you don't mind, I'll take a look for it, guys. When he comes in with another one, I'll let you know.
Okay. So let's do a little bit more role playing, Jayne.
Okay.
If that's okay with you. So we've done it once, but maybe I know sometimes we get the we want to stress the importance on May and then how people use this, and then we'll cover sort of how other people use phone home leads and then go forward. So do you want to role play with Andy?
I can do that. So I want to show a couple examples of where script matters, but so much more than what the words we say, it's how we say it. And we know that. And that's really almost with anything in life, but specifically with these. So the script, I'm going to role play you how you don't want to do this, and then the optimal way of how you do need to do that. And the reason that we use tone and we have a very engaging, almost cinematic way of engaging with people is to try to eliminate some of those objections in the front end. So I'm going to phrase things in a way where Andy is going to feel a little bit weirded out that I called him on his cell phone. Okay. All right. So ring, ring.
Hello, this is Andy.
Oh, hi, Andy. This is Jayne Young with Allstate. How are you?
I'm doing well. How can I help you?
I'm good. Hey, Andy, I saw that your home is up for renewal and you don't have Allstate. Who do you have?
Really quick, how'd you get my number?
Yeah, see, that's the objection every time. I sound like a telemarketer, and people don't generally give their cell phone numbers out. So here's how we combat that. And it's all in one word, which is May. That's it. And I have not had that question of how did you get my number? Honestly, probably over a year. It's been a long time. So if you end up trying out phone home leads and your staff's like, they keep asking, it's how their tone, listen to their calls. So this is an example of how to do it. So I sound unassuming and friendly and like he knows me. So ring, ring.
Hello, this is Andy.
Hi, Andy. This is Jayne Young with Allstate. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I was calling because I saw your home may be up for renewal soon and you don't have Allstate. So who do you have for auto and home insurance?
State Farm.
State Farm. Oh my gosh, the S word. Okay, well, I'd love to talk more about that. Are you still at 123 Main Street?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So now I'm going to ask a big question because I'm going to sideline here. I always talk about discounts first. A lot of the role plays do that. This is what I choose as well. So, all right, Andy, got a big question. Are you ready for it?
You
All
should.
right. How old is your roof? Do you know when it was replaced last?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay. See, I'm so excited. I'm kind of a nerd, Andy. I know I'm going to be able to lower down your mortgage payment if your insurance is an escrow. So let's get going. Or who else is in your household with you? And then we'll pause there. It's a way of being assuming. I'm pulling him along. I'm acting very excited. So if I'm calling someone up out of the blue and I'm like, did you see that red ball in the street? You'd be like, what red ball? Like if you're super excited about it, people are going to follow you wherever you're going because whatever you're interrupting their day, it's not as interesting as what you're bringing to the table. And you have to almost guarantee that. So if I'm acting super excited about insurance, they're going to be super excited about insurance. And then maybe we can role play when they're not.
That's just great advice all the way around, right? Like in general, everybody could use a little bit more of that. That's awesome.
Yes.
And the May is also very important because it sets them up. Either it is renewing or it isn't renewing soon. So with phone home leads, what I do is I look at mortgage data in a given zip code, specifically when it renews. So I think, David, this is what you were getting to. Who did the prospect call? I'm looking at the mortgage owner. This isn't necessarily the person that lives in the home. Why? Because everyone refinanced when the interest rates were 2%. So what we want to do is we want to look for the mortgage owner. Most people buying their homeowner's insurance with escrow, right, in their mortgage. And then we find the number for that person. Then we go through the extra validations of, are they on a do not call list? Is their phone number connected? And it's almost
well, and to affirm what you're saying there, Rob, notice I never say, I saw your home on Main Street, maybe up for renewal, because people own homes that they don't live in. And so you don't want to corner yourself into an objection of, I don't live there. Where do you go from there, right? So you see, I see your home maybe up for renewal, and they'd be like, oh, okay. And then I'd say, is this your address? Oh no, that's my landlord policy. Bingo. Now I know I'm going to go after the umbrella, the personal home, the personal autos. Like we're going for all of it. And that's where you get to really dance as a salesperson.
By the way, if anybody wants to actually talk and ask your question, just shoot me a chat. If you want to talk, I can also allow anyone to just pop on audio, which is perfectly, I think, great with everyone here. So if that's something, if you're not getting your questions answered and you just want to talk with us, just let us know.
I've also, if you do run into those rare things where someone did something funny and maybe the data didn't quite line up for this one lead, if they're like, actually, I just renewed. Oh, even better. Those are the people that I can actually convert a little faster than the people that are coming up for renewal. Because then I say, oh, even better. So you're actually already paying the higher rates. Let's talk about that. Are you still at this address? And go into it that way. So it's not just don't let your people freeze or don't freeze when you hear that. That's still okay.
It's important to note that the biggest complaint we ever got was nobody answers, right? If somebody's on the phone, they have something to insure, right? They have a ring, they have a renters, they have autos, they have homes. So yes, we're targeting for the homes, but if they're on the phone, if we dig more and have actual interest in the prospect, we should be able to find something.
Yeah. Now let's role play. What if people aren't happy? Because let's be real, a lot of people aren't happy. I want to role play with you, Rob, because even though you can be very dynamic and engaging, you're pretty grumpy sometimes. Pretty grumpy. So I would love to role play with you and you just be in your natural grump element. Are you ready?
I'm the tech dude. I'm not the.
Yeah, no. If you're looking for personality, it's Jayne. If you're wanting tech, it's Rob. So
got it.
All right.
Okay.
Ring ring.
This will go great.
Ring ring.
Hello.
Hi, Rob.
Yes.
Hey, Rob. This is Jayne Young with Allstate and Nixa. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Hey, I know you weren't expecting my call, but I saw your home may be up for renewal soon, and you don't have Allstate, so I was curious who you have for auto and home insurance. And then I want to pause there real quick. So Rob wasn't as grumpy as I wanted him to be. That was a pretty nice grump, and we've all talked to people who are worse than that. So if you get a response like, what do you want? Or who is this? I'm like, hey, Rob, who's this? Oh, hey, Rob, I'm going to assume it's that person. This is Jayne Young with Allstate. So the only time where I will add, I know you weren't expecting my call, is to match their energy. Because we all know if you've talked to a rude person and you don't acknowledge it, you're just like, oh, wonderful. I love that you're being hit so hateful right now. Let's keep talking. They're going to keep doing things to let you know they're not happy. So you acknowledge it and you move on and you continue on with the script. Oh, I did want to talk about another, and then I'll stop taking over. Sometimes as a woman, when you call and you're trying to reach a man, the wife answers. This is a unique challenge. So we found a good way around this. So for example, if the contact says Andy Arter, and this is the address, and this is the cell phone, and I hear a woman answer. Oh, hi, I was trying to reach Andy. This is his wife. What can I help you with? That's pretty normal, right? You may be laughing right now. Hey, you're probably exactly who I wanted to talk to anyway. My name is Jayne Young, and I'm from Allstate, and then you continue on. So if as a woman you're calling through and you're like, hey, or I'm trying to reach Andy, what do you want with him? I'm his wife, I'm his girlfriend, whatever they're gonna say. That's how we overcome that objection, is just, oh, you're probably exactly who I need to talk to anyway. And that kind of calms things down.
Yeah, I could see
Okay.
that. You're out there on the front lines. You never know what you're going to come across.
Yeah. Right.
So not awkward at all. All right. So Jayne, can you tell us a little bit about how else you use phone home leads? So do you do any mailers or anything with this? So, and then we'll get into pricing.
Do so many mailers. So I don't know, I'm not even an advocate for this company. I should probably start getting a commission structure set up with them, but I got tired of hiring people to handwrite. So we all know as agents that handwriting is the open rate is so much better. But I hired like 3 high school people that didn't know how to address envelopes. And so I got tired of it and I bought a machine and it handwrites for me. And I can leave stats on that later, but that's what I do for my mailers. Now, more importantly, how phone home rolls into that is that I will get a list from Rob that has everybody that I can or cannot call. It's really almost limitless what you could do with this. So if you want to take the calls and say, okay, Rob, give me the data of people I can't call and I'm going to send them mail and hope they call in, you can do that. Or you can use this data and say, I want to send mail 3 or 4 days to everybody I'm about to call. You can do that. I've done all the things that I've listed on that. And so generally, if I'm going to send that mail ahead of time, then I'll say, oh, hey, Brad. Hey, Brad, this is Jayne with Allstate. How are you? Great. Hey, I was giving you a call because I sent you some mail the other day. You probably threw it away thinking it was spam. But I saw your home maybe up for renewal and you're probably facing an increase. Who do you have for auto and home insurance? You know, I keep my tone like this, which just keeps people engaged.
And
so that's what I do. I use it with mail.
And, you know, especially since the pandemic too, we've noticed a lot of people out there are drastically underinsured. You know, they bought a home for 500,000 outside the pandemic. Their insurance agent doesn't want to call them. And now their $750,000 home still only insured for 500,000. You know, they need to talk to somebody. That's certainly true. So, so we talked about the mail, and then the last piece is, okay, pricing. So I charge $3 per lead. So $3 at 250, $3 at 500. If you go up to 750 leads, it's $2.80 per lead. And then if you do 1,000 plus leads per month, it's $2.50 per lead. Additionally, oh, go on, Jayne.
I was just going to say, now I think Rob is the only leads vendor that's going to say buy less. Okay, buy less leads because these leads have to be loved on. Okay, so if you've got a team of 2 people and you're thinking, I'm just going to buy 750 or 1,000, there's no way you're going to be able to hit those up every day. So you're going to actually have diminishing returns. So buy for your team and buy for your skill set. Because yeah, these are super duper affordable, but they're also very effective. In fact, if we could do it all over again, I'd say make them more expensive because people automatically think they're aged leads. But Rob, I think you had a question on Thomas Burks.
Yeah, so Thomas, we do have the script written out, and then that'll come. So we do have a script that we give you to get you past that first 30 seconds. After the first 30 seconds, it's really just objection management, and you can go with, you know, whatever sales trainer service that you use to get past that. But the first 30 seconds, we found that some of the traditional sales trainers are built for opt-in leads. These are not opt-in leads. These are targeted leads, right? We're looking for people whose homes are likely renewing, and then we're calling them right around the same time they're receiving the renewal paperwork. And so It is written out, and this does address it. It also includes call cadence. And then if you choose to leave a voicemail, which we encourage you not to leave a voicemail until you are done calling and you get the next list of leads, we also have that written out as well. Hey, I've got a question about your homeowner's insurance. Can you give me a call back? You don't always get a call back, but the times you do, that tends to be a pretty warm lead.
I think he also asked, what does the contact rate look like? I don't know if we addressed that one yet.
Yeah. So in my agency, I haven't measured this metric in a little while, but in my agency by day 11, I have about an 80 to 85% contact rate where someone's going to pick up and say, and I'll have an opportunity. So it's pretty high. It can vary by states. Rob, feel free to jump in and correct me. It can vary by states. It also varies by consistency. So if your team isn't consistently calling these every day, if they're like, I called for 2 days and then I took off 4 days, and then now I'm coming back, that's going to have a big impact. But if you've got people and this is the leads, these are the only leads you're calling on, which is what my agency does, that's when you're going to get the high contact rate.
So, and we call it the pop, that 2 week, and Jayne kind of elaborated on it earlier, but the pop, days 5 through 9 really is assuming consistent calling. That's really where we start seeing the engagement peak. So you can expect day 1, it's normally about a 20% contact rate, but you're also going to get those jokers that kind of slip through and they put Wendy's as their primary contact information. Day 2, 3, 4, it may be right around 10%, which really, if you think about it, it's actually really good. And then overall, the contact rate on these leads increases once we get to week 2. And if you think about it, because these people didn't fill out a form online or they didn't get tricked into opting into this list, you need to be consistent with calling. So then you catch them when they are ready. We also see people right now, there are a lot of people home for Christmas, right? And so people are answering. We know what those objections are going to be. Well, I'm home for Christmas. We need to talk about in the next year. They're also on the phone, and be prepared for those objections.
So, and in fact, December is some of my bigger months that I have because agents are like, I'm not going to be able to close and it's a holiday and that's what I'm like, great. I let them think that because I'm going to go in and keep calling and I'm binding people all December. And then Thomas had another question. Do we have to pay for leads if they are already an Allstate customer? Meaning after we run them through the Allstate DNC tool and identify they are already an Allstate customer. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so whichever, it could be Allstate, it could be Shelter, it can be State Farm or whomever, depending on the market saturation for that company is what I buffer. So in Allstate's instance, I will buffer no less than 10%. Meaning if you buy 500, I'll send you 550. And then let's say the DNC tool for whichever company you're with removes 30, you're still at net positive of 520.
Which is how we eliminate the refund or the return. Because we can't guarantee, like anybody, you can't guarantee the success. That's just how good your sales team is. But what we can, or what Rob can speak to is the contacts. Did you call a Derek and Derek answered? The rest is up to your team.
And so a disconnect, especially if your team is getting used to a new set of leads, just because they didn't answer on call number 1 does not mean that the lead's invalid, which may be something that you're familiar with other lead providers. The consistent calling is very key. How many do you recommend per producer? Jayne, do you want to speak to that or do you want me to speak to it?
I generally, you go ahead.
So my general rule of thumb is if you are only working these leads, like if this is it, then my general guidance is 100 per sub producer per week. If this is all that they're doing, if they're in hybrid roles or something like that, then you can adjust it accordingly. But the idea being that, okay, I'm calling through 100 consistently on week 1. There are, let's say, 20 or 40 people that I'm either binding or they tell me to pound sand, and then you backfill and you keep backfilling. And the idea is that you're achieving a 100 call cadence a day, 100 calls. Now, if you're good with talk time and you're good talking to people, probably not going to make it through that 100 calls. But that's just general guidance. The 250 package that's typically reserved for like a sub producer, 500 would be I've got a telemarketer and a sub producer or 2 sub producers. And then after that, 750, 1,000 and things like that, that would be if you have bigger teams. All right.
Could you use do you think you could hire a telemarketer to do this for you? External?
Absolutely. We've demoed that for a little while. So I would hire girls that are maybe not getting enough shifts at the pizza place. And so they would come in and do calls and they'd say, and I'd pay them differently. So they would have the same script, the same intro, and they'd say State Farm. She'd be like, great, let me get you over to Jayne and she'll work that up. And then we use Slack. And then she'd Slack me and say, hey, this is the name. And I'd pull up the lead. I'd have lead manager there. That's the CRM that we use. And I pull it up and I'd be like, great, hi, I'm so excited. Now, who do you have again? And I take it from there.
Beautiful.
And we are pretty good with that. In fact, we have better contact rate of that happening in office than hiring a warm transfer. We have a lot less disconnects that way.
That actually makes sense though. The origin of it, where it's coming from, totally makes sense. That's awesome.
And then it's also worth noting too, Jayne, I think we spoke to retention, stuff like that, because they aren't shoppers. Can you speak to the benefit of that really quick? Of not being shoppers?
It completely changes your book. So what I mean by that is my bundle rate's like 92% of my book. And I've been doing this 5 years, almost at 3 million. So that I think is significant. And I did that not accidentally. I don't chase autos. I pretty much started with phone home to try to solve that time crunch, because starting scratch ECP, you don't have a lot of money after a while. So my bundle rate is really huge. My retention is really huge, because these are people that aren't shoppers, which means they're a little bit less price conscious. So that kind of makes it easier to not get in those transactional conversations about, well, what are you paying? Now that is part of the conversation, but not the conversation. And that's up to my team to make sure that they don't stay there on that dance floor of just talking about price. So those are people that trust you. They know that we're going to find those lapses. We're going to point out issues, not what's wrong with their company, but how we're going to be able to fix a lot of things with their policy. And so generally when it's up for renewal, they may call and say, hey, I got a little bit of an increase. That's fine. I'm happy to pay more because I know you're going to answer the phone, or I know you do things differently. So it really helps retention, your bundle rate, all the qualifiers, so you can get your bonus and travel. That's what we want.
You guys know Suzanne Haas? Does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
I spoke to Suzanne days ago, and she's like, they're going to know me. I was one of their first customers. And she was so pumped because she literally, it's how I came up with the title for this, doubled her homes last year. And she attributes 100% of that to being able to target homeowners the way she has with you guys. So she's one of many, but she was lit up. And to have somebody who's been with you for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, she's been with me for a while. Absolutely. And we have a few customers across different companies, by the way. We have quite a few customers across those that have been with me for a few years. And so we're really happy with that. I saw Thomas Burks ask, how do you get their cell phone number? What does the contact rate look like? We already talked about contact rate, but how do we get those cell phone numbers? Frankly, it's public data.
But that's the secret sauce, though, what makes it awesome.
Yeah.
Just gotta have the guts to call it, right?
Do what?
Pretty much.
You just gotta have the guts to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. Comfortability is the death of progress. So if you can like get past that and be able to be a little bit uncomfortable by calling people who weren't expecting it and being able to disarm them emotionally, whatever they're dealing with. And that's why the part of the script, which is, how are you? Isn't just, how are you? Yes, you care, but like, not really. You ask that to figure out how hard you're going to have to fight of whatever's happening there to get their attention. So if there's like road work going on, if there's screaming kids, my tone is going to be even more engaged. I'm going to ask a ton of questions to try to make sure I've got their attention.
Absolutely.
John, they're completely exclusive. So John asked, are the leads completely exclusive or exclusive to carrier? They are completely exclusive. So it's not just a carrier. So if you're a State Farm agent and you have Allstate, or if you have any of those different services, it's exclusive in the industry you're in. So that's different if like somebody's looking for Windows, but I'm not in that service. So it's exclusive to you in the month that you're subscribed.
And it can be a battle sometimes with agents in the same area. They're like, what did that agent get? What did they get? When are they going to release it? Let me know whenever they get rid of those zip codes.
Yeah, that certainly happens. That certainly happens. All right. What other questions do you have?
How can they get in contact with you I saw one agent already reached out and said they set up a call. They must have hunted down your website or something. But
Yeah. Yeah. So let me throw that back up here. So
You can go
you'll
to
see
phonehomeleads.com.
phonehomeleads.com, and on there's a form that you can fill out, and that just sort of keeps me organized. Or also feel free to email me, rob@phonehomeleads.com.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to compete with any of the amazing people out there that have role-playing platforms. They're fantastic. But you can book time with me. So if you sign up with these leads and I'm really good in that elevator pitch, after that, those are for the other companies to lead the way. But if you want to book time with me to talk to your team about how to do this elevator pitch and perfect it, you can do that as well. So a lot of people will bundle their first leads with a call with me, a 45-minute call with me, so they can set off and go.
Yeah, it gets to the point where I would rather you book a time with Jayne than buy more leads, because I think it'll make your lead purchase more effective. Because it is very important for your sub producers to understand what these are. If they go in and they start saying, "Hey, I see you're shopping for homeowners insurance."
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's not true. So they're now, going to hang up. Hey, there's a lot of those different things that we want to try to identify, and it's almost always something small that can be tweaked. And next thing you know, you turn it around, right? Nobody wants an insurance quote. We need to find out a little bit more about them and really be responsive and active in the call. And phone home leads is a great way to get your reps in. All right. Any other questions? These are really good.
Yeah. I'm curious which companies are all on here. Can we talk with Jayne about tips and ideas for LSPs? Did we already answer that one? That was 11:39. Yeah. I can't see who asked that.
that was
Mike.
Mike. Okay.
Mike.
Mhm. Yeah.
Andy, did you put your weather up there on your?
I didn't mean to, guys. I was trying to actually do a
That's
GIF, and then my weather popped up, and I feel
a
bad.
GIF, but yeah, no, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jayne, can you talk about tips and ideas for LSPs or sub producers? We can make that a little bit general. So I believe this is so Mike, I think probably what we'd recommend is just consistency, getting the reps in, booking a time with Jayne. So those sessions are recorded, and she will send the agency owner. Yeah. So she'll send the agency owner kind of a recap of the information that she got from a sub producer, right? Like if it's a remote employee and that employee is just spinning around vaping the entire time of a call, you should probably know that, because they're probably not taking your time, your investment as an agency owner seriously. So there's that. Don't let your team get let down. And then, if somebody's getting on the phone and they're like, "Man, they keep saying no to me," document what that no is, what that objection is, and role play that and make it more painful for them. When they're role playing it internally than when the call's out. It's kind of like getting your exercise in. You want that to be harder than your day-to-day tasks so that it's not as stressful.
So my tips would be, give these to your closers. Honestly, I can't see that chat. Give them to your closers. Give these to the people that are going to be open to trying something new. Not every LSP or person that works for an agent is or should be created equal. We've all got people that we hire for different reasons. So if you've got generally someone who's a little bit more stuck in the mud, doesn't really want to try something, is generally pretty negative, don't waste your time on giving these leads to them, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get, well, no one answered. Well, I know it was day one of calling.
And so almost anytime I receive that objection, "Hey, we don't have answers," I will go through and manually call all the numbers. And I have yet to run into that actually being an issue. We normally need to have discussions with the sub producers.
It's normally an agent who's like, "Wait, I had all these disconnected numbers," and then Rob will call through and he's like, "I got their voicemail," and they're like, "I better talk to my LSP about this." They're telling me one thing.
And I mean, like at the end of the day too, activity is king. Like nothing beats hitting high volume and building confidence from making a lot of calls. And back in my day working on a big sales floor, like that's the one thing that we saw, is that people would have a breakout moment, but only after they put enough time in on the field. And what you guys are talking about is pulling them off the field for a few minutes every day, to make sure they're not practicing on customers, which is
Yeah.
fantastic because you're already investing money and time to do that. But then use that as your live training ground, listen to recorded calls. Like that's every high performing sales organization I've ever seen. They're always going to push on that consistent improvement. They're not amateurs, they're professionals. They're going to work it out,
Mhm.
but also like no excuses for low activity. Like unless you have them doing some other work in the agency, sorry, I only got to 40 calls today. Like the more outflow you have, the more inflow you're going to have as a producer. And you could be the second or third best producer in the agency, but put out more activity and still beat everybody else. And then
Mhm.
eventually you're just going to get really good at what you do because you are so active anyway. And so that would be my recommendation, especially since it's a little bit more of a, see, it's a colder call, but to me, it doesn't seem cold. Like I'd love to make these calls. I think it's a great call to make, but I think I could see where after only a couple days at high activity, you probably don't even think about it anymore. Do you? I mean, it's probably just
No,
like, here we go again. And
let's
so
go.
activity's king.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then these tend to have a longer tail as well because we're getting in touch with so many people and we've developed those relationships. Even if we can't call them, we're still building up that backflow. So one stat that I typically use is most people when they call on leads, they maybe call 100 leads. Out of those 100 leads, 10 people answer, and then of those 10 people that answer, maybe one you get one quote. Well, with phone home leads, I found common denominators on probably 60 of that 100 that you should not call, right? Are they dead? They probably can't answer, right? Are they over 90?
I
Probably
don't want to
shouldn't
call people
answer.
over 90. So I've got
Well,
Exactly.
those
some final
parameters set up.
expense, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I like on these leads, I call on them. So I'm still selling as the agent. My close rate is 25.2%. So it's pretty high. But out of 10% of all the people that say, okay, I'll play with you, like let's do a quote, I can close 10% in one call. And in fact, this morning I had a one call close. So it was just an auto, but it was auto home, and I convinced him to do an umbrella because his liability limits were already there. And so we even have an office competition. If you get a one call close, I buy you lunch. So it's a real fun thing because it's difficult to keep pushing past through and getting those objections and getting the bind.
That's awesome. Tacos on you if they get call close. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. Okay. Any more questions?
I will be posting out just a recap and summary recording of this. I know probably a lot of our attendees today want to go back and watch some of those recordings. If anybody has any additional questions, we'll give it a couple minutes here and then we'll probably wrap up, at least for this session.
Yeah.
You guys, if you got anything valuable out of this, I know it's a no-brainer, but please
Mhm.
drop a fire emoji, a heart emoji, something down in chat. Would love to see some of the feedback from today. Everyone
Mhm.
enjoying this? I know I learned a lot and enjoyed this a lot, and I'm hoping that you guys. We got our first heart from Vicky Brown. Let's go, Vicky Brown.
Yay!
Taco from John Tunnel. There we
Yay!
go. Love that.
Thanks, John.
Maybe Rob, as the business owner, if you get people that have a one call close, they send you like some kind of control number or policy number, and you send them lunch. You could do that. You could do that for like a December promo or
Easily.
January. Make it so. Make it so.
I like that. I actually like that too. Oh, wow.
He's a Trekkie.
That's a great way to
Oh,
finish out the call. We got to do a screenshot with that.
yeah.
3, 2, 1. Yeah, there we go.
But
Rob,
something I would love to say to the agents is you've tried everything else. You've tried. You're a part of those groups where agents are like, what do I do? What's the newest hot company that we can do? What's the magic bullet? What's the silver bullet? There is no silver bullet. But if you watch what legislation is doing and you're watching how some of these laws are changing, I think you've got to get back to the basics and you've got to be able to try something different, especially in 2024 when everyone's expectations are going to go up. Try something different. You've already tried all of that. So let's try data leads and see what happens. I think you're going to save a lot of money, and I think you're going to get better results.
100%. Well, thank you both very much. Like, I really appreciate the combination where, you're able to speak to the agency world and what's actually happening. And then Rob, on your end, obviously you're connecting all the data points and doing all the behind the scenes wizardry that nobody can figure out. So I appreciate your expertise. When I met you, I was like, this guy's totally like a data guy. Like he's that guy. He's that mad scientist behind the scenes. And I work
Yeah.
with somebody like this on the team hired side. And I appreciate the heck out of it because it's not how my brain works. But thank gosh for guys like you that crack the code on things like this. So I really appreciate both of you making the time. I'm going to drop out the recording, all your contact information. But if anybody has any questions or for whatever reason can't find the website, can't get a hold of these two, please just reach out to me at andy@teamhire.com. It's right down here in the bottom of the box, and I'll be happy to connect you with them as well.
Thank you so much for inviting us on, Andy. We had
Yeah,
such a
thank you, Andy.
fantastic time.
Yeah,
and thank you for sending me all those wonderful recruits that I have an interview here in 10 minutes for. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, our pleasure. Thanks for entrusting us with that. Appreciate it. All right,
Right.
everyone. Well, have a great day. Thank you so much for your time. And I guess we'll wrap up a few minutes early here, and enjoy your Tuesday, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.